Hey guys. So yeah, I'll admit just right out of the gate, compared to last week's episode, this episode was a little bit more of a mixed bag for me, and in a lot of ways, even though the animation and art and animation was definitely a bit of a downgrade compared to last week. That in itself isn't really doesn't really have anything to do with as to why this episode as to why this episode is a little is just kind of falls in the okay category for me. But the one thing that does kind of drop it for me is how you can already see that there's pretty much a lot more noticeable shortcuts that Toei's falling back on to prevent themselves from catching up in the manga. In this case, a bit of an a lot more of elongated flashback sequences. And the thing is, I don't think this will be an isolated incident either from here on out. I think we will be getting a lot more moments like this because we are kind of entering that awkward part of this arc where we're not fully caught up yet, but we are getting close as well. But the thing is about Wano is we have been going we have been going on a relatively consistent pace where even though Toei has tried to do things in a way where has done things to expand the arc and whatnot, it feels like it's been overall a lot better handled in how they've done that, and they've tried to expand them, and they've tried to generally give extra moments that actually expands on the material or the story itself without needing to overuse flashbacks all that much. So to me, if they could, even if they have to, even if they have to slow down the pacing, if they could just do more of that, I think that would, if they could just do more of that, or find a way to kind of expand the story rather than just overuse like flashbacks or whatnot. Then I think maybe we could possibly avoid a Dressrosa situation. But on the other hand, considering the series from here is just going to be nonstop fighting at every turn with few breaks in between. I don't know how likely this is even to happen. Like when from one thing I've discovered is that when it comes to how Toei adapts the series, whenever we get to the big climax of an arc, that unfortunately is the part where that is definitely the part where it doesn't matter as to how good that Toei does at adapting an arc in the series. It is in that climax part where they do tend to fall back on old tricks a lot of the time. So I think that is almost kind of like a bit of a bit of a definite inevitability. Like, yeah. For as much as I would like them to just like expand on story elements beyond this point, or just beyond expand on story points like they've done before with this arc, I think it is inevitable that we're going to be seeing a lot of flashbacks, or even just, or at best like the occasional fight be like going on a little longer than how it was in the manga. But yeah, um, and yeah, obviously the big thing to talk about in this episode is that Kyoshiro officially revealed himself as Denjiro, and the thing is, Kyoshiro revealing himself as Denjiro is still to this day one of the most satisfying reveals in the entirety of the Wano arc to me, because it's in this very moment where nearly every bit of planning Orochi had done, and every moment where he assumed he was thinking like countless steps ahead of Kinemon and the others, a good majority of that all comes crumbling down, and it's all from the very single miscalculation of allowing Denjiro near him, and not doing a proper background check of assuming, okay, is this guy actually who he says he is? Like that's kind of the funny thing, is if he had just that's the kind of the funny thing is that in a lot of ways when you look at it, he in a lot of ways when you look at it, like Kyosho really did take advantage of of really did take advantage of the fact that his outward appearance had changed so much, and that how his facial changes were the ultimate mask. Because if Kyoshiro if he if he if 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 Orochi had just done a very simple background check, then none of what's happened in this episode would have even happened at all. Like, like Denjiro's face being warped by his rage and anger did turn out to be the ultimate mask that allowed him to fly under the radar and gather as many reinforcements in this moment as he did. And it was a part he played to, like, it's funny how both Denjiro and it's funny how when you look at the parallels of how Denjiro and Kanjuro were pretty much both playing a part. Like one was serving Orochi, and the other was serving Orochi, but was also secretly on the side of Kinemon and the others. But he still had to play the part of serving Orochi, and ultimately, even though they both played their parts perfectly in a way, it was Denjiro ultimately who managed to gain the most out of the role he played, who managed to do the most out of the role he played. Now, unfortunately, from here on is also where things slowly shift back into Kaido's favor, despite the amount of warriors and weapons and resources that Kyoshiro has amassed in order to aid in the assault on Onigashima. It's one of those things where Denjiro's return for as a triumphant moment as it is also where it's also from here on where Wano also starts flipping the script, and that feeling of hope and just triumph that we're feeling right now is gonna slowly descend into unease and despair and all that. With that said, one question I do have to ask: who do you think is the luckier motherfucker, Buggy or Kinemon? Because this entire fucking episode of pretty much of Denjiro laying out the details of Kinemon's plan, like, you can just, everything Denjiro is saying in certain respects is absolute fucking bullshit. Kinemon did not plan for any of this shit, but at the same time, it's working out so perfectly in the Alliance's favor that it's like, yeah, that Kinemon in the moment is just thinking, you know what, I'm just gonna roll with this, hopefully I can kind of work, and hopefully I can kind of work with this. Hopefully I can find a way to kind of like just make sure no one realizes that I don't know what the fuck is going on right now. Like, I kind of love how just it perfectly works out. And again, in that sense, I kind of makes me wonder who the hell has the most luck here in this situation. Is it I honestly think pretty much Kinemon is the more lucky motherfucker is luckier than Buggy in this situation, because but with Buggy, he's lucky, but he just kind of flies by the seat of his pants. But with Kinemon, because we know of his character, because we know of his character and how much of a military tactician he is, it's going to be one of those things where he can obviously work with what he's got, but at the same time, it's still just freaking hilarious how like it's such a this is such a quintessential One Piece moment, character moment, that's both epic in how how now Kinemon is able to like roll with the situation, naturally roll with the situation, but at the same time he just has to completely hide the fact that everything Denjiro but that contrary to what Denjiro was saying, he just planned none of this shit. He just planned for pretty much none of this shit. Um, but yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst, Crunchyroll, and be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell as well, and just share it around, guys. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later.